Okay, so we're going to go for a complete change in direction today, and we're going to look at questions that involve time. Now, because you've been able to tell the time probably for over 10 years, it's something that you just assume is something you can do, and it's relatively straightforward. However, what we find is that when we mark GCSE questions that involve time, very often they're badly answered, and the main reason for that is students apply their addition and subtraction skills that they've learned over time, but those don't work for time, because when you're using your non-calculated skills for addition and subtraction, you're using the decimal number system, which counts up to 10 and then carries from 10, whereas the number system counts up to 60 and carries beyond that. So you need to be very careful when you're working with time, especially on a non-calculated paper. So for example, if I just do a little bit of comparison here, when we're working in decimal, if I buy two items costing £6.53 and £1.48, how much have I spent? So to do that, I would set it out in columns, and then starting at the rightmost, I would add 8 and 3 is 11. The unit gets written down and the 10 gets carried over. 5 and 4 is 9 and 1 is 10. 0 gets written down, the 10 gets carried over. 6, 7, 8. So I've spent £8 and a penny. And then how much change do I get from £10? Well, you would do a subtraction for that if you were to lay it out as a column, which you probably wouldn't for this. You'd be able to do it in your head, but just to show you the principle. You can't take 1 from 0, so you have to borrow. You can't borrow from there, so you end up working from here. So that becomes 10, that becomes 9, and that becomes 10, and then that becomes 9, and that becomes 10. So what you end up with is 10 take away 1, which is 9, 9 take away 0, which is 9, 9 take away 8, which is 1, 0 take away 0. So the change is £1.99. So what I've got here is a time context using exactly the same digits. Okay, so if it's 6:53 now, what time will it be in 1 hour and 48 minutes? So the maths that I'm doing is adding 1 hour 48 to 6:53. So if the decimal method would work, the answer would be 1 minute past 8. But that's not actually what the answer is. And the way that I would suggest you deal with this, whether you do it written down or whether you do this on your fingers or in your head, is up to you. But if you imagine that you've got a sort of timeline, okay, and you're starting off at 6:53, work to the next hour. So the next full hour would be 7 o'clock, and to get there is going to take you 7 minutes. Then you're going to go from 7 to 8, which is going to take you another hour. And you've still got another 41 minutes to go, because you've taken 7 of those minutes to get you from 6:53 to 7 o'clock. So you've got another 41 minutes to go. So the time actually in 1 hour and 48 is 08:41. So you can see there that even though you're adding, so you're doing the same process of addition and you're using exactly the same digits, the answer has to be different. So you can't use your decimal methods in order to add or subtract in time. And then how much time is will then elapse until 10 o'clock. So again, if you think of your timeline, we're at 8:41. So if we go another hour, we're at 9:41. We can't go another hour again, it would take us beyond, but to go from 9:41 to 10 o'clock is going to be another 19 minutes. So how much time will then elapse? 1 hour 19 minutes will elapse. So again, what we're actually doing is subtracting or counting on, but in arithmetic we'd be doing 10 take away 8:41, which will give different starting numbers to that, but the point is the same, that if I'd written that as a subtraction I would have ended up with different answers. Okay, so it's important that you're aware on a non-calculated paper in particular that when you're working with time you need to count minutes up to the next full hour, then count full hours or half hours, and then make up the difference. Okay, so that's what I've said there. When working with time questions, drawing a timeline is often helpful. Now, if you're given a time question on a paper 2, a calculator allowed paper, then it's got a time button which is really powerful. And the time button is the one that I've taken a snapshot of there. It's here, it's above the word ENG. So you've got, it looks like a cluster of commas, okay? And that stands for hours, minutes and seconds. So the way that you would do the previous question, which was the 6:53 plus 1 hour 48, is like this. You would do 6 and then you press it once to say that that stands for hours. 53, press it again for minutes. I haven't got any seconds. Plus 1 hour 48 minutes. Press equals, and it tells you straight away it's 8:41 seconds. So that would be 0841, and the way that that is shown is 8041 dash 0 dash dash. So what would be important is that you wouldn't write it down the way it's given on a calculator, you would turn it back into 24-hour clock. This one would be 10 o'clock, so that would be 10 hours 0 minutes, take away 8 hours 41 minutes equals 1 hour 19. So the way that that's written on the calculator would be like that. So here is an example of a paper 2. So these were on a maths paper 2, so you're allowed to use a calculator on this question. But let's see how we can do this. So what is the difference between the following times? 7:30 on the 1st of November 2017 and 13:20 on the 3rd of November 2017. Give your answer in days, hours and minutes. So first of all, deal with the days. So I'm going from 07:30 on the 1st of 11th. So to go from there to 7:30 on the 2nd of the 11th is 1 day. Then I can jump again to 07:30 on the 3rd of the 11th, which is another day. But I'm not going to jump another day, so it's going to be 2 days. And then I want to go from 7:30. So if I go from 7:30 to 8:30 to 9:30 to 10:30 to 11:30 and so on to 12:30, then that's going to be 5 hours to 12:30. And then I've got to go from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, which is 30 mins, and then from 1 o'clock to 20 past, which is another 20 mins. Okay, you could do that all in one jump, it doesn't matter. It's however you deal with this. The important thing is you recognise that you need to break these things down. So it's 2 days, 5 hours and 50 minutes. So because of the days there, you can't really use your calculator, but you could have used your calculator to work out from when you were in hours and minutes from 7:30 on the 3rd to 13:20. So you could have done 13 hours 20 minutes, take away 7 hours 30 minutes, and got the 5 hours 50 from there. Divide 16 hours 20 minutes by 5. So because this is on a calculator paper, this is so easy to do. If it was on a non-calculator paper, then the easiest way to do it would be to work out how much minutes you've got in total, divide that by 5, and then turn it back into hours and minutes. But on a calculator, you're just going to do 16 hours 20 minutes, divided by 5. And it does it automatically for you. 16 hours 20 minutes divided by 5 equals 3 hours and 16 minutes and 0 seconds, and then turn that into hours and minutes. So 3 hours 16 minutes, and that's all you need to do. The important thing, and this is where students do go wrong, is that you have to press the time button twice. So once for the 16 hours, and then again, you can't just put 16 hours 20 and then do the maths. You've got to press it again so that they know that you're working in hours and minutes. So that's time. A couple of more past paper questions here. So this is a numeracy question, paper 2, calculator allowed. Bus timetable from Orme Station to Outlet Village. Only 15 minutes from Orme Station direct to the Outlet Village. So the time of the journey when you get on the bus is going to be 55 minutes. Buses leave the station every 12 minutes from 8 in the morning until 12 noon, and every 24 minutes from 12 noon until 10 p.m. At what time does the first bus after 9 o'clock leave Orme Station? So this is actually a question where we're just working with multiples of 12. Okay, so the first bus is leaving at 8, and that's going to be at 8. So we got 0800, then we got 0812, 24, 36, 48, 9 o'clock. Okay, so I'm just adding 12 minutes to the time. It's not at 9 o'clock, it's after 9 o'clock, so that will be the next bus, which will leave at 9:12. So you're just listing 12 minutes in increments from 8 o'clock. Gwyll looks at the timetable shown above. He decides to take the latest possible bus to be at Outlet Village by 1500 hours. At what time will Gwyll arrive at the Outlet Village? You must show all your working. So it's in the afternoon, so we're working now with multiples of 24 minutes from 12 noon. So the first bus is going to leave at 12, the next one at 12:24, the next one at 12:48. Then it gets a bit more complicated because we're flipping over the hour. So because it's on a calculator paper, you can do it like this. We can start at 12 o'clock. And then we're going to add 24 minutes. So if we just press plus 0 hours 24 minutes, so that it's got the ants plus that, what happens now is when we keep pressing that, so the first one is 12:24, next one is 12:48. So just by repeatedly pressing the equals button now, I'm going to be able to list all my times. So there's the time to take me beyond when he wants to arrive at the outlet village. But the most common mistake, or the most common wrong answer for this question was 14:48, because these are the times that they're departing the bus depot, but the journey takes 55 minutes. So that 12 o'clock one arrives 55 minutes later. Okay, so that one would arrive at 12:55. Now Gwyl wants to get there by 3 o'clock. So if we go down our list there, the one that leaves the bus depot at 1400 is going to arrive 55 minutes later at 14:55. The next one would arrive too late. So at what time will Gwyl arrive at the outlet village? There's your answer. Okay, he's going to catch the 2 o'clock bus. It's going to arrive 55 minutes later at 14:55. So long as you are methodical with these time questions, you're going to be fine. It's when you try to take shortcuts or do things in your head that the problems will arise. Then we come to questions where we use timetables. And again, these are things that people just assume they can do, but can be quite complicated. So these often appear on a non-calculator paper, so your time button doesn't help. Use a time button, use a timeline, and if the journey has more than one stage, don't assume that they can move directly from one to another without passing time in between. So here's a paper 1 maths. Below are 2 parts of 2 train timetables. So the first one is Swansea to Bristol Parkway. So make sure that we can understand what's happening here. Each column is a train. Okay, so this one's going to be the train, first train to leave Swansea. So it leaves Swansea at 10:28. It then travels to Neath and then Port Talbot, and these are the times it leaves each station. This one is a different train, because this one doesn't leave Swansea until 5 to 11 and so on. So each one of those are different trains. These trains get to Bristol Parkway at these times, and then this train probably carries on to London. So this is a different train again, and these have got different departure times going to different stations from Bristol, Cheltenham, Birmingham, Derby and Sheffield. So if he gets on the 10:55 from Swansea at Bridgend and gets off at Newport, how long should her journey take? So she's on the 10:55, so she's on the second train. She doesn't get on it there, she gets on it at Bridgend. So she's going from 11:25 to 12:08 when she gets off at Newport. So we've got to go from 11:25, so we've got 11:25. It's going to take her 35 minutes to get to midday, and then 8 minutes to get from there to 12:08. So in total that's going to be 43 minutes. David lives in Port Talbot and needs to get to Birmingham by 3:30 in the afternoon. What's the latest train he can catch from Port Talbot to do this? So he needs to get to Birmingham. So he needs to be on this set of timetables, and what we do is we work backwards. So he's got to be there by 15:30. So I'm looking for Birmingham. What's the latest train he can catch? Well, he can't catch that one because he arrives too late. He can catch that one. So in order for him to be on that train, he needs to be in Bristol by 13:40. For him to be in Bristol by 13:40, he has to be arriving on that train. He could arrive earlier, but the point of the question is what's the latest he can leave Port Talbot. So he needs to be getting off in Birmingham by 14:56. which means he has to be in Bristol by 13:40. He arrives in Bristol at 3:30, and this one is in Port Talbot at 12:12. So what's the latest train he can catch from Port Talbot? Is the 12:12. And how long should he have to wait at Bristol Parkway? Well, the 12:12 gets into Bristol Parkway at 13:30. He gets off that train, and then he's got to move to a different platform for the 13:40 to Sheffield. So he's got a 10-minute wait in Bristol. Okay, so again, you have to be clear how you're reading off these timetables. So we'll go with another one. So the following are parts of rail timetables between Swindon and Coventry and between Coventry and Durham. So here is a little bit of difference because we've got departure times for Swindon, but at Reading the trains are actually stopping for a period of time. So this train 1 gets into Swindon at 14:29. Sorry, leaves Swindon at 14:29. It stops in Reading at 3 o'clock and then starts moving again for Coventry at 15:11. So it's waiting there for passengers to get on and get off for 11 minutes before moving on and getting to Coventry at 16:22. And then a different train is going to go from Coventry through Birmingham and on to Durham. Dennis catches the 15:29 train from Swindon to Coventry. So he's on this train. How long does the journey take? So he's going from Swindon to Coventry. So he's leaving at 15:29. So 15:29 to 1600 is 31 minutes. From 1600 to 1700 is an hour, and then from 1700 to 1723 is another 23 minutes. So the journey's going to take 1 hour and 54 minutes. John arrives at Reading station at 14:55. He travels on the next train to Coventry for a meeting, which, including the walk to and from the station, takes a total of 1 hour and 20 minutes. He then catches the next train to Durham. What time does he arrive at Durham? Okay, so let's take this one step at a time. He's arriving at Reading at 14:55 and he gets on the next train to Coventry. So he can get on this train and he gets on the next train to Coventry for a meeting. So he arrives in Coventry at 16:22. So he arrives at Coventry at 16:22. He's got a meeting which includes a walk to and from the station, takes a total of 1 hour 20 minutes. So he's back at the station 1 hour and 20 minutes later in Coventry. So 1 hour 20 minutes later would be 17:42. So he's in Coventry station at 17:42 and he wants to catch the next train to Durham. So he can't get on that one, he can't get on that one, he misses that one, he can get on that one. So he's going to be on the 17:49 train, which will arrive in Durham at 21:39. He's on the 17:49, gets into Durham at 21:39. So that's the answer. Okay, same thing, we're breaking these into minutes and whole hours. So those timetables. The final sort of question you might come across to do with time is to do with time zones. Now, if you've experienced foreign travel, foreign holidays in the summer, if you go to Europe, very often there's an hour's time difference between us and Spain or France or Portugal or wherever you go take your holidays. If you're going to go to America, they're behind us, so you're travelling backwards in time. If you go to somewhere further east, then they're ahead of us, and we need to make those adjustments when we're working with departures and arrivals. So when it is 21:30 on a Tuesday in London, it is 2:30 on a Wednesday in Dhaka, Bangladesh. It takes 10 hours 30 minutes to fly from Dhaka to London. Flight leaves Dhaka on Thursday at 1 o'clock local time. On what day and at what time should the flight arrive in London? So the trick is to have all the arrivals and departures in the same time. So because we want our answer in London time, we need to convert Dhaka time into London time. And to do that, we need to know what the time difference is. And they're telling me here that when it's 9:30 in the evening on a Tuesday in London, it's 2:30 in the morning the following day in Dhaka. So to work out the time difference, I'm going to go from 21:30 to 22:30 minutes, 22 to midnight, 2 hours, midnight to 2 o'clock, another 2 hours, and then 2 o'clock to 2:30 is another 30 minutes. So the time difference is 2 hours, 4 hours, and another, that's a 30 minutes, and another hour. So there's a 5-hour time difference. A flight leaves Dhaka on Thursday at 1300 local time. So what would that be in London time? So flight leaves Dhaka at 1300 local, and that's going to be 5 hours earlier in London. So that is going to be 8 o'clock London time. So when it's taking off at lunchtime in Dhaka, actually it's breakfast time in London. And the flight is going to take 10 hours 30 minutes. And it's going to land in London, so it lands in London 10 hours 30 minutes later. So that would be 10 hours plus 8 is going to be 18:30. Okay, so the time it lands in London is going to be at 18:30 in London time. Go through that again. So we need to know what the time difference is between London and Dhaka, and they're giving it at a time where it jumps days. So when it's 9:30 in the evening in London, it's 2:30 in the morning at Wednesday, there's a 5-hour time difference. Dhaka is 5 hours ahead of London. So that's what I've done there, is to work out the time difference. I know that the time leaves Dhaka at 1300 local time. Well, because of that 5-hour time difference, that means it's actually 8 in the morning London time when that plane takes off. It's going to be in the air for 10.5 hours, which is going to be 10.5 hours on from 8 in the morning, which is going to be 18:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the afternoon in London time. So we've got one more example to look at, which is the same sort of thing again. So the timetable for a flight from London to Beijing is shown. So it leaves London at 5th of August at 8:25 in the evening, and it arrives in Beijing at 6th of August at 1:10 in the afternoon. And that will be in Beijing time, and that will be in London time. So they're always given in local times. When it's 1 p.m. in London, it's 8 p.m. in Beijing. So that allows us to work out what the time difference is. How long should the journey take? Give your answer in hours and minutes. So we do the same thing. We want to get them both in the same time rather than in local time. So the time difference is 7 hours. Okay, because when it's 1 p.m. in London, it's 8 p.m. in Beijing. So I want to get this arrival time in London time. So in London time, plane arrives in Beijing at, so if I'm going to take 8 hours off 13:10, then I'm going to get 6 hang on, I got brain dead. So 13 take away 8 is 5:10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Sorry, it's 7 hours, isn't it? It's not. Confused myself now. It's a 7-hour time difference. So if I add 7 hours to 6:10, I get 13:10. So actually, when it's lunchtime in Beijing, we're still in bed in London. So it's arriving at 6 minutes past 10 on the 6th of August, and it took off at 20:25 on the 5th of August. So I now need to work out how much time elapses between these two. So I'm going to start off at 20:25. If I add 35 minutes, I get to 9 o'clock. If I jump from 9 o'clock to midnight, then that's going to be 21, 22, 23, 24, 3 hours. And then I'm going to go to 6 in the morning, which is another 6 hours. And then I'm going from 6 to 6:10, which is another 10 mins. So the total time of the journey is going to be 9 hours so it's the 6 and 3, and then I got 35 and 10, 45 minutes. So the time is 9 hours 45 minutes. So those are the 3 types of questions that you will come across where you are working with times. So you might just be working with how much time elapses between two things. You may be given a timetable, or you may be working with time zones, and you need to be comfortable with all of those. We'll have more on the time button on your calculator in the next lesson when we look at speed, but most of these questions are on paper ones, where you are breaking them down into jumps in minutes and then whole hours to make sure you don't make those decimal calculation mistakes. Okay, now the work I've set you to do, the past paper questions, I'm going to give you this lesson and Friday's lesson to work through. Keep coming back and checking over the work on the examples in this video clip if you're not sure, because I know that it's quite a complicated thing to get your head around. So good luck. I'll be in the room. If you need me or you need to check anything, make sure you drop it.